Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. I am Himani Sharma, Senior Brand Marketing Manager at FPSP India, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you in today's exclusive webinar titled Beyond AUM, the one number that transforms your practice, the Net Promoter Score. So, as financial professionals, we often measure success through assets under management. But in today's evolving landscape, long term growth is increasingly driven by something far more powerful, which is client trust, experience, and advocacy. So, in this session, we will explore why the Net Promoter Score or the NPS is a critical metric that goes beyond AUM to truly reflect the strength and sustainability of your practice. We'll discuss how exceptional client experiences translate into stronger retention, meaningful referrals, and consistent organic growth. And I really hope that this session leaves you with actionable takeaways that you can apply immediately to your practice. Now, to help us deep dive into this important topic, it is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Avneet Arora. Avneet is a CFP professional with over 15 years of experience in wealth management. She has worked with ICICI Wealth and Nuvama Wealth, erstwhile Edelweiss, before embarking on her entrepreneurial journey. She has founded two companies. One delivers financial education and training to professionals, and the other provides personalized goal based wealth management services. She is the first women president of Council of Financial Planners, and her passion is making finance simple, actionable, and truly impactful for both individuals and institutions. Avneet, we are very much delighted to have you with us today. A very warm welcome to you. And before I hand it over to you, I just wanted to let the audience know a few housekeeping rules. We will be taking questions towards the end of the session. So I would request all of you to please post your questions in the Q&A box that you can see, and we will address it towards the end. So with that, Avneet, over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Himani, for a warm welcome. And thanks a lot to the entire FPSB team for inviting me for this webinar. Good evening, all of you. And welcome to this small chat on Net Promoter Score. So let me start first by sharing my screen. Just give me a second. I hope my screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, Avneet, it's visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks for the confirmation. Okay, so like Himani mentioned, when you practice, people who are into practice, we have to look beyond AUM. AUM is a very common metrics which we use as a growth metrics to understand our growth of our practice. But is there anything else or other matrices to see where we are heading, how we are heading, and how our growth trajectory really looks like? So let me start quickly by sharing a small story with all of you. Okay. Now the story is of Rajesh. Rajesh is a person who is running his own transportation company. He has multiple vehicles with drivers who tend to pick and drop customers from their locations, right? One fine day, Rajesh happened to meet, let's call this customer as customer A. So one day he got a call for a booking and he went to pick up a customer, and he met this customer A, right? So he followed all the protocols and processes what he has set up for his own company as well. So he greeted the customer very nicely. He ensured that all the safety parameters are taken care of. He drove properly on the roads. He also tried building some rapport with the client. Okay, had some chats with him, and By the end of the trip, he dropped the client to his respective location and greeted him once again and said goodbye. Before saying goodbye, he told the client that if possible, whenever, if you are a frequent traveler, you can always give me a call whenever you need a ride, and I will be there at your doorstep for whatever time you is suitable for you, right? And he also told the customer that if he has anybody else, also any of his friends or colleagues or anybody who is looking for this kind of a service, he would be really happy to provide the service to them. So that day passed. Few days later, he got a call again from customer A. And this time, customer A asked him again to pick him up and drop at a respective location. Okay, same process followed. Then again, after a few days, he got this call from this customer A. And slowly, he started having a good relationship with this customer. So much so that eventually this customer started giving Rajesh's number and started promoting Rajesh services among his friends and colleagues and group. And then he started getting clients through customer A's references also, right? And he was very happy. Now, set aside another day, another story. Another day, he met another customer. Now, let's call this customer as customer B. Now, Rajesh, being a very happy and jovial person, he greeted customer B. He again followed all the protocols, drove very safely on the roads, no rash driving, nothing happening. He tried to have a chat with the customer. He tried to build a rapport with the customer, dropped him on his location, and same thing, said him goodbye and told him if ever he needs again any ride, feel free to call him. Right? Days passed, months passed, but this customer B never called him back, not even once. I'm sure a lot of you would be able to relate with this story, right? We would have come across similar situations. We try to give our best foot forward to our customers and clients, but we'll always have this experience that there will always be few clients or few customers who are very we have very good relationship. They are very happy with our services. They are more than happy to give us references and promote our business and services among their friends, colleagues, and other people. And at the same time, we all will have certain customers and clients, though we have followed the same protocols, we would have followed the same processes and everything, but still we'll have people who are unhappy, clients we are unhappy, and clients who are moving out as well to our competition, right? The reality is, when you talk about our business, people who are into investment advisory, people who are into wealth management, one of the very common metrics of growth is references, or client acquisition tool, if I may say, is references. Most of us rely on our references to grow our business. And the reality is that references will be given only by the happy customers, right? Unhappy customers are not going to give you any references. It is the happy customers who will go and start promoting your business, advocating about your business and services among their network, right? But the question is, if going back to Rajesh's story, how do I know what is making a customer happy, and what is the thing which is making another customer unhappy, right? What are the things what I am doing good, which is really working out well for me, and what are the things what I am probably not doing good, which is really irritating or making my customers move away. Generally, to get this kind of a feedback, there are three options, mostly used as three options. First is random conversations. So we do random conversations. We occasionally call the customer, check in, talk to him, right? And from there we tend to figure out or interpret, okay, what could have been the reasons why things are not working out or things are really working out. Okay, so that is through random conversations. Other most common used metrics by a lot of us is gut feeling, right? We assume that the satisfaction levels of our customers, sometimes we miss the warning signs, uh, and we rely on our gut feeling and how the call went on or the sales call went on, how it was, the conversation was. And based on that, we assume a lot of things. And the third could be a systematic approach, a regular measurement or a data driven insights, right? Because, like I said, client advocacy is the one which predicts your business growth these days. And client references being a very, very powerful acquisition tool used by most of the people in practice, it becomes important to understand these nuances in a very systematic and data driven manner. Now, what are the systems or what are the metrics which can be used? If you look at in the market, there are a couple of matrices which are used to understand the customer satisfaction levels. But here, since we are talking of references, so the metrics what we are going to talk about here is the NPS. NPS is your Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score is one metrics which helps you to understand whether your client is really going to promote your services or promote your business. Is he really going to go out of his way and talk about you and your business and how you have added value to him and in his life among his network? Okay, if you really want to measure that, this is one metric which can really do the trick. Giving a bit of history around this metric, how it came into picture. This is not a new metric. This is a metric which has been designed in early 2000s. It was created by Fred Richard, Bain and Company. And the reason why they have created this was that they have this problem in hand. There are multiple surveys which companies used to do, and even now also they do it, right? To figure out how has been the experience of their clients, how has been the experience of their stakeholders, and so on and so forth. But to get insights from those surveys, uh, it's very difficult because you have to use multiple questions, you have to use a lot of data analytics, and you have to really read between the lines to gauge a concrete understanding of it. So they wanted to develop a metric which is simpler, which need not have these kind of complexities. And probably if there could be one single question, one question only, which can help them to understand whether my this respective client is going to uh, do advocacy for me or not. Is there anything around it, right? And that's where the NPS originated. And slowly, when all the companies, they saw the value which this particular metric is providing, started getting adopted by all the big companies like Apple, General Electric. If you talk in today's term, NPS is used by most of Fortune 1000 companies to drive the customer centric growth. So much so that there are companies which have dedicated what you call dedicated teams who are tracking this NPS systems. And I'm not referring only companies of our segment. You talk about IT, you talk about automobile, you talk about any of the sectors. This is one of a key metric to understand their growth. In fact, most of the companies, apart from having your annual targets, which are more from a revenue perspective, number perspective, sales perspective, on the quality side, so those are all quantitative targets, right? So on the quality side, there are companies which have targets on NPS scores. So what is the scores they are getting, and they target to achieve higher and higher scores depending on the experience and what is their current scores. So much focus has been there on this particular metric. In fact, talking about my own journey with this NPS, I got to know this couple of years back when I was managing a learning and development team, where we wanted to know how our programs, whatever programs we are designing, our team is designing, how much is it really creating an impact on the ground? Is the employees really finding these programs useful? And that's where we try to use this metric to understand that part. In fact, you can use this NPS not only for the client's perspective, but bigger organizations, bigger companies, they also use eNPS, which is to understand the from an employee's side of the story, how the experience of the employee has been so far. So that has been my journey. So when it came to the NPS. But here in our conversation, we will be talking from the client perspective and from the practice perspective, how this really works. So let's understand what is the score all about. What is that? Okay, we have been talking so much on this metric and how it measures loyalty, how it measures whether the client is really going to do recommendation of your services and all. But how does it really work? What all is there in this? So first of all, to calculate the score, there is a simple formula. This formula is NPS is equal to percentage of promoters minus percentage of detractors. Okay. So NPS is percentage of promoters and minus percentage of detractors. If you put this formula, if you put the numbers in this formula, what you get is something called an NPS score. Now, how do you get this score? Who are the promoters? What do you mean by detractors? How this entire process works. So how this works is basically, it is only one question, one main question, which is your key for NPS, which is how likely are you to recommend us? That is the base of the entire survey. And that is your first question. So the question which is asked is how likely are you to recommend us? And you have a rating scale. The rating scale is between 1 to 10. Okay, 1 on the lowest side and 10 being on the highest side. 1 to 10, you ask your clients to rate you. How likely are they going to recommend you? And then it can have few questions followed by that question in terms of course, we want to know why you are recommending or why you are not recommending, depending on the score, why you are giving the score. So it can be followed by a question like, what is the reason behind this rating? What is the reason behind the score? And if there are any other things you want to capture based on the objective of the survey, right? So you can add those kind of questions also in that survey. Based on the ratings, what clients have given you, you can identify them as promoters, passives, or detractors. If you get a rating of 9 or 10, now those are your promoters. Those are your clients who are really loyal to you, who are very happy to go and talk about you and your services. And this is your referral engine. Okay. So these are your main promoters. Detractors, on the other hand, are the people who have rated you between 0 to 6. 0 to 6, these are unhappy clients. These are the clients who need immediate attention. They are not very happy about it. They don't know. There is something which is not working out for them. Okay. So those are your detractors. And then you have somebody who is neutral, which is your 7 and 8s. We call them as passives. They are called passives. Now, these are the people, they are satisfied, but they are not loyal. There's a huge difference between that. Satisfied means whatever services what you are providing to them, they are okay with it. But if, let's say, they get a better option, better deals or anything in the competition, they will not think twice moving out. Okay, that's your neutral stance, or that is your passives. Okay, so this is how you categorize this. So what you do is, let's say you run the survey with a sample of 100 people. You calculate how many promoters you got, how many passives you got, and how many detractors you got out of that 100. And you calculate the percentage. And that percentage is what you put it in this formula, what I showed you. But if you would have noticed in that formula, it is only the promoters and the detractors which was there. So it is percentage of promoters minus percentage of detractors. Passives are not considered in that calculation. Reason being because they are neutral. That is why to arrive at an NPS score, the passives generally are not considered for that calculation. So this is a formula. Let me show you a couple of examples how this really looks like. Okay, let's look at some scenarios. So this is your scenario number 1. Scenario 1 is where you really got a very high score. Higher the score, the better it is, right? That's how it works. Now this is an example. Let's say there are 100 clients you surveyed. Out of that, 80 people have given you 9 and 10 scores. 10 people have given you 7 and 8 scores, and 10 have given you 0 to 6 scores, right? So if I convert this into percentage, so 80% of my clients are promoters, 10% I have passives, and 10% I have detractors. How will I calculate score? I have to take the promoters and subtract the detractors from there. So 80 minus 10, I got plus 70. NPS can range from minus 100 to plus 100. Okay, minus 100 to plus 100 is the range of NPS. It can range from minus 100 to plus 100. So I got 70 as a score. 70 is like an excellent score. So that's a good score, right? If we have to look at some more scenarios, so let's say a medium scenario, which is a good scenario. It might not be excellent, but it is still good. So again, you have 100 clients whom you have surveyed, but this time your promoters are only 60%. Only 60 are your promoters. 30 are your passives, okay? And 10% are your detractors. 30% are passives and 10% are detractors. Now this score, 60 minus 10, it comes out to be 50, which is still good. But if you see here, almost 1/3 of your clients are neutral. That might not be a good sign. Though the good sign is, even though the score is 50, but the detractors is very less. So you also have to look at why the score is coming high or why the score is coming low, and how the proportionately the division has been in the promoters, passives, and detractors, right? Now let's look at one more scenario, the last one. Okay, so we'll see one more scenario here. So if you see here, low NPS, or where there is a need for the improvement. Now when you see here, same thing, 100 clients surveyed, but here you have 25% only promoters, 30% are your passives, and 45% are your detractors. Matlab 45 of your clients are not happy clients. And that's where, if you look at the score, it goes minus 20. So here definitely it needs the improvement. We definitely need some improvement here. That's how it looks like, right? So this is not a good score. Having a negative NPS is definitely not a good strategy or a good way to look at it. The positive, the better, and higher the positive, the better it is. So I told you range generally it is between minus 100 to plus 100. How you can use that is, first time when you are doing it, that time at least you get some ballpark numbers there, right? First time when you're doing it, whether it is 50, whether it is 20 or 70, whatever number you're getting, you get some number. And then from there, looking at the insights, you can look at improving that score year on year, slowly over a period of time. It will also highlight you in terms of what are the possible reasons why your clients are not happy, and what are the possible reasons why your clients are happy. If you are putting a subsequent question with the main question, like I was saying, if you are putting a question after the first question, which is how likely are you to recommend my services, which is a rating question, and then followed by what is the reason for the rating. So if you try to analyze the reasons for the rating for the promoters, it will tell you your strengths of your company, with things which are really working good for your company. And on the other hand, if you see the reasons quoted by the detractors, it will tell you that what are the areas of improvement which is required, or what are the blind spots, okay, which sometimes we are not even aware that these are the blind spots and these are the things what people are feeling, right? That is how you can look at it. I'll just clear all this. So why NPS matter for you? First is you tend to identify who are the promoters. Now you know exactly the set of people to whom you can go and ask for references, and there is a high probability that you will actually get those references, right? So you get to know your promoters. It helps you to reveal service gaps, like I just told you. So especially if you look at the reasons quoted by the detractors, it will really tell you a lot of things where the gaps are being there. It also helps you to benchmark the loyalty. You can track improvement over time. Like I mentioned earlier also, many companies, they have this as a qualitative targets, right? Annual targets, qualitative annual targets, where they keep a target how to improve that score year on year. And it also helps you drive excellence, because see, we have to always keep updating ourselves, we have to keep improving ourselves, and this can be one of the ways to do that. You really get focus areas, clear cut directional insights in terms of the improvements you need to do, at least from a customer service perspective. A very common question now comes to a lot of our minds, I'm sure, is when to measure this. Is there a particular time frame when we should be measuring it? How frequently we should be doing this kind of an exercise? Should we do it annually? Should we do it quarterly? Okay, how to go about it? So these are a couple of events when ideally it can give you a good results. Good results does not mean good scores. Good results mean good insights. Okay. So first is post onboarding. I'm sure all of you would have a very clear-cut onboarding process for your organizations. So after you have onboarded a client, right? First 3 months, what has been the initial expression? We always say, right, first impression is the last impression. So as an organization, of course, we would want to know what has been the first impression or initial impression of our company and our services to our clients. So post onboarding, this kind of a survey can be plugged in. You can also do it as a practice on annual reviews to track the score and see how things are really moving in. So it's a yearly check-in kind of an activity. And third area or third time or situation where you can use this is if there is a key interaction which is happening, some portfolio reviews are happening, some goal planning sessions are happening with the clients. Okay, some important conversations have happened. After that also, from client to client basis, you can be selective on this. If you want to know how it really went and how the client felt about this entire process, that is also another time where you can do it. So these are three situations or timings which can be looked at. Okay, so now let's say we are done with the survey, we got the scores, we got the results. Now what to do? Many a times the buck stops there. Okay, we got the insights and that's where the purpose is met, but actually that is not true. Whatever scores you have got, whatever insights you have got, it is very, very important to turn it into action. You have to take certain actions to really make this activity worthwhile. Now, what could be the actions which could be taken? For promoters, you can thank them personally. You can ask them specific referrals. Like I said, now you have a clear-cut understanding that this is my pool of clients who are very, very open for giving the references. So you can ask for some specific referrals. You can feature them in success stories of yours. Okay, and that's how you can engage with them. what are the actionables for the passives? Passives, like I said, these are neutral clients. Okay, they are satisfied, but still they are not on the happy side of it. They are still at a satisfaction side of it. Probably you can engage with them more personally, and try to understand where is how you can make them move from a satisfied client to a happy client. Okay, uh, what is that which will really create a delightful experience for them, right? And make them a promoter for your organization and services rather than a neutral or a passive kind of a client. Okay, you can also try to demonstrate the value what you are bringing on the table with those clients, because many a times uh, what happens is, since especially with the clients which have been there with you for a certain amount of time, uh, some people, they start taking it for granted, right? And they stop seeing the value which is being provided to them, right? So it becomes imperative that you demonstrate that what is that you are really, how you are helping them achieve their goals, how you are helping them manage their money, how you are playing a very significant role in their overall financial journey. And last but not the least is your detractors. Now, detractors, this is your red flags. These are the people where instant follow-up is required because they need immediate attention. They are your unhappy clients. That means definitely something is not going well and which needs your attention and uh, your involvement into it. So try to follow up as soon as possible. Try to resolve their issues, whatever has been highlighted. Now, issues can be process related, it can be person related, it can be any kind of issues. So try to resolve those issues. Whatever is there in your control, at least that part of it, you can try resolving it. And see if you can convert these critics into advocates. It is a tough task, but yes, it is possible. It's not an impossible task, because see, if they are having certain pain points, certain pain areas, and you are able to identify it and you are able to resolve it, heal it, uh, that is where you can make them your promoters. Then how to design the survey now? Okay, all said and done. How the survey should look like, what are the things which needs to be kept in mind? See, first thing is it should start with the first question, which is your NPS question, which is on a scale of 0 to 10. How likely are you going to recommend us to your friend or family member? Okay, that's the beginning, that's the opening. Okay, and that's non-negotiable. That's how it should ideally start. Okay, after that, you can ask what has been the reason of that rating to get more insights, and this could be an open-ended question. You can also ask in terms of what are the areas of improvement, if you want to know about it. If you want to ask about the communication, you want them to rate you on certain parameters or certain services or certain products, so and so forth. So you can have those rating questions accordingly. If you want to ask for any follow-ups or anything, you can put those kind of questions. But try to keep this as short as possible. Don't have a very long survey where people are taking like 15-20 minutes just to fill in that survey. Keep it very short, simple, crisp, and concise. uh, Main thing is you should be very clear what is the objective with which you are trying to drive the survey with the clients. Okay, what are the insights or what are the understandings you want to have, and based on that you can design the questions. And you can have mix of open-ended and closed-ended questions, and or rating questions for that matter. Practically, I'm telling you, if you have a lot of open-ended questions, it becomes difficult to analyze the survey, because it takes more manpower to go through each and every subjective answer what you would have got and consolidate and summarize it, right? On the other hand, from a understanding or from a analyzing perspective, Rating questions or closed-ended questions are relatively easier to analyze because you get average numbers or only one-sided kind of questions, answers. Okay, so it's easy. But if you want to know more detailed insight, then that might not give you a deep insight. So you have to create a balance between these two kind of questions when you are putting into the feedback survey. So of course, Himani said we'll try to talk about something which you can immediately implement in your practices in your organizations. So you can immediately do this. In fact, this is a great time when we are having this session. We have just started with the new year. And this is one activity you can add as a part of your processes from this year onward. You can do this measurement or this kind of survey by using Google Forms, or you can also use Excel. There are a lot of CRMs. You can integrate the surveys in those CRM platforms. If in any of you guys are using those platforms, you can integrate that also in this. And once the survey is done, please review the result, check on the feedback, see what has been given, spoken about, and what are the views which has been shared by your clients in that survey. So, and then from there onwards, you can do this as a systematic practice. Like we said, maybe once in every year, you can continue this, and you can also plug in into your onboarding process. So I think with that, I am done with my presentation. I would be really happy to address any questions. If anyone has any questions or doubts, you can post your questions or doubts in the Q&A box, and I'll be able to address it one by one. There are already a couple of Q&As here.
Yeah, Avneet, let me help you with that. I think most of the questions you've already answered on the go. But yeah, here is the question. So it's about, looking back at your journey and the extensive experience that you have. So what decision or habit has, most influenced the way you approach your work, the way you approach your clients? Just quick 2, 3 tips.
From the NPS point of view, you're asking?
Yeah. And overall perspective as well. If you can just give 2, 3 general tips.
Okay, I didn't understand the question basically, Himani. Could you just repeat the question once?
Sure. So basically, the question is that looking back at your journey, what decision or habit has most influenced the way you work your approach today?
Okay. I think first is I like to keep it very systematic. Okay. And this is one feedback which I get from even my clients and a lot of my stakeholders. Okay. So I keep it very systematic, and at the same time I keep it very simple. Let's not complex things for us as well as for our stakeholders. So keep it simple, keep it and data driven. You need to have those data points to take actions. Every time you cannot take decisions based on gut feeling or instinct. Sometimes, yes, definitely it works. But at least in day-to-day activities, data plays a very important role to have a decision making done.
Thanks, Avneet. There's a question. So Sanjeev is asking that, do you have a questionnaire format or any Excel model created for NPS calculation, which we can customize as per our specific needs?
Okay, so if you would have seen the presentation, there I have already shown you a couple of questions, how the designing of the questions can be. I would not suggest to use a standardized template if you ask me personally, because the objective of your organization could be very different from any other organization. That's why I also harped upon the point that what is the objective which you really want to drive this for. But you can take cues from the way I have given the questionnaire. And in terms of the calculation part, see, calculation is very simple. It is just that you are calculating the percentage of your detractors and promoters, and you are just subtracting them. So I think that should not be an issue to do the calculation in the Excel.
Thanks. I think that's really helpful. So next question is from Tushar, and he's asking, what is the best way to this NPS survey done? So by sending email with link or personal one-on-one message?
Okay, that's a good one actually, Tushar. That's a good question. See, ideally, I think my personal opinion, if it is given to the client and let him fill it out in his own space and time, rather than doing it one on one, because when you try to do it one on one, okay, you might find client uh, giving you very polished answers, or you might not get the insights what you are really looking forward for. And especially somebody like me, you're just asking Imani what I do. I always look for critical feedbacks. Okay, so somebody like me, I want to give that space to the client and really pour his heart out in terms of what is that which is really making him unhappy, or what is that which is really making him very happy. Okay, so I think best way is give him that space and time to do it, rather than doing one on one, because when you try to do it one on one, you might not get a very honest kind of answers, is what I believe.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you give the client some time, they can think over it and they can put some thoughts on it and come back to you. That was really helpful. I think we have another question from Vasant. There are many clients who are happy, but when it comes to giving referrals, they say that many people look for direct platforms, or my friends have some other advisors, or some say that we only look for local advisors. So basically, I think he's trying to ask that how do I differentiate myself?
Okay. uh, uh, okay. So I think Vasant, this is exactly the situation what I started my story with. Okay. Now here you are asking me why this is happening. That is the underlying statement, right? And why it is not going the way you wanted to go. Now the question is that only, why is that client is giving you these answers? This could be really the his true situation also, right? Possible that he is talking to people and they are telling him that, okay, I'm using direct platforms, or I'm having I want some local advisors. It could be a very genuine feedback also, or it could also be coming from a place where he might he's not that comfortable, or he's not very confident of you or your services to be advocated among his network. Okay, now if the first case is there, no problem, but if it is the second case, then you need more data and more insights, that why is that client is not getting that confidence, and why is that he's not seeing the value what I'm creating. And that's exactly the place where the survey can help you. Because when you're same thing, right, if you're asking, let's say if I ask Himani right now, Himani, how was my session? Himani will be like, yeah, it is really good, great, and all, right? She's not going to tell me all the mistakes I would have made in this session right now. But if I send her a form later on, Himani, could you please share your feedback around this? There is a higher probability that she can really say, okay, this was not good, or these are the areas where you can look at, or this is not something which I felt was proper and all. So that's how it really pans out.
That was really, yeah, helpful and relatable question from Vasant. I'm sure it would have helped others also. And Rashmi has also put across a very, I think, relevant and relatable question. She's asking that most of the people who I meet take all the inputs from me, but they do not get the confidence when it comes to investment. So, how do I convince them?
Okay, now how my understanding reading this question is that you are able to connect with the client, you are able to build rapport with the client, and it is leading into the process of presenting a solutions also to the client. But after that, it is not getting into the execution level. Okay, so it is somewhere getting stopped there, and there is a gap coming between presentation and execution, right? Now there are two ways to look at it. One is from the knowledge perspective. uh, in terms of whether the solutions or information which has been given to the clients, okay, is he finding it relevant, not relevant, or suitable, not suitable for that matter. So that knowledge aspect comes into picture, uh, and that's where you can look at in terms of the information what has been provided by you. Is it really solving some kind of a problem what he's facing, or it is more of a information which is a general conversation what you are having? Until unless you don't give him something which solves his problem, or you're not trying to find solution for him, uh, that could be one of the reasons. The second way to look at it is on the softer aspect or soft skill aspect, which is where your selling skills or sales domain comes into picture. Okay, because many a times I've seen people who are very good with the knowledge and all this goes well, and then but to move them into the to move the clients to the execution level, you need a bit of a skill set aspect also. That could also be another reason why it is not getting into the execution side. I think you are the best judge in terms of which angle is more relatable or suitable, and I think accordingly you can work on it. And both the things, whether it is knowledge or it is skill, trust me, Rashmi, you can build both of them through practice and learning. So that's definitely not a problem. It's just that you first identify which perspective is more relatable for you or you are able to connect, and accordingly you can I think upgrade and upskill yourself accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah, Rashmi has said that I agree. Soft skills matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vasant has again written to us, so let's hear from him. He's saying that a lot of fintech platforms which purposely display that they are giving the MF schemes with a reduced expense ratio,
Okay.
and the expense ratio is manipulated. So how this can be handled?
This is really out of context question which is being
Yeah, it
asked
is
to me. Okay,
kind
but
of.
let me try answering it. See, Vasant, there's a very famous saying by someone, I'm not able to recall who has said it, but it's the price is what you pay and value is what you get. If the clients are looking at the price, maybe uh, you might have to relook at the value addition what you are bringing, or maybe relook at the way you want to demonstrate the value addition you are bringing on the table for the clients, and how the price what is being paid by the client is justifying the value what is being provided. I think that could be one way to approach this kind of a situation.
Well, I think that sums it up. We can just wrap the Q&A session now. And thank you so much, Avneet, for such an insightful session. I personally resonated with your views on trust and client experience and how NPS can truly go beyond AUM in shaping the long-term success. And I'm sure the insights that you share today will greatly support our existing CFP professionals as well as the aspiring ones in strengthening their client engagement and building a sustainable, trust led practice. And also, I would like to extend a thanks to all our participants for joining us and staying engaged throughout the session, for asking questions, and for those who are seeking CPT points from today's webinar, the session recording will soon be available on our LMS portal. And the video of this webinar will also be uploaded on our official YouTube channel by Monday. With that, we can close this session, and we will definitely continue this journey of bringing you guys more insightful webinars soon. Until then, stay curious, stay connected, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much, all of you, once again, from all of us at FPSP India. Thanks, Avneet. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Thanks, Imani, and thanks all of you for joining in. I really hope the session was useful and I was able to add some value in your practice. And thank you so much once again, FPSP India team, for inviting me to have this conversation with all your participants. So thanks a lot. I really enjoyed the session, and I really hope everybody who was listening to the session really enjoyed the session too.
Thanks, Avneet. We really enjoyed the session. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.